The Dallas Cowboys already have major storylines heading into training camp that will lay the foundation for what their season is going to be. So, let's get into it. First up, we need to talk about the running back room. And the real question around that group is someone good enough? Is someone good enough to take over that running back one spot? Or could the Cowboys realize that nobody in that room can get the job done and they need to add a running back, whether that's through a trade, someone gets cut? Throughout the first couple weeks of training camp, I'm going to be really focused on how these guys look. Because at some point, the Cowboys are going to have to decide we're good enough or we need to make a trade and get a difference maker in the backfield. And hopefully they come to that realization sooner rather than later, because adding a running back after the preseason's over, a guy that hasn't been in the system, can get a little bit tricky. And it's going to be hard to get him up to speed if you were to trade for somebody or pick someone up off the waiver wire. Regardless, the running back room is a huge storyline as we go into camp and as it continues on all the way into the preseason. Next up is the big one, the Ceedee Lamb holdout. It's been reported that Lamb is not coming to Cowboys camp until he has a new deal. He'll face fines, but he doesn't care. He wants to get paid. We've seen a ton of numbers thrown around this entire situation and the Ceedee Lamb contract. $32 to $36 million per year is kind of in the range that I'm expecting. Justin Jefferson got $35 million per year. So really, we're just basing it off of that. Is Lamb better than Jefferson? That's up to you. But it's not up to us how the markets work, especially with premium positions like quarterback, wide receiver, corner. Every guy that gets a contract that's in the top 3, top 5 conversation is going to be the highest paid. So I think it's safe to say that Ceedee's next contract is going to be closer to $36 million per year. But we've gotten so many conflicting reports on this entire situation. The other day, we got one that said Lamb is ahead of Dak in line to get paid. And then a couple days ago, we got a report that said the Cowboys haven't made any significant progress with Lamb yet. Now, I'm telling you this because it's a storyline, but personally, I'm not all that worried about the Lamb deal. I 110% believe that it will get done. And if it doesn't, please clip this, please roast me. I'm just not that worried about it. The Cowboys seem to like to sign deals ahead of camp or right when camp starts for morale purposes, which doesn't make sense to me, but hey, to each their own. But really, it's just as simple as 3 words. Sign the man. Real quick before we continue, I have some really exciting news and I really owe it to all of you. I'm excited to announce that I have gotten my own show on the Autograph app. And Friday is the premiere episode. Film study after games, highlights from training camp, you name it. I'll have one video exclusively on the app every single week throughout training camp, the preseason, and the regular season. All you have to do is click the top comment on this video, download the app, use my code DIMBOYS, and boom, done. If you're like me, I want strictly Cowboys content sometimes, and Autograph has everything you want right there. Articles, podcasts, you name it, they have it. Autograph also hosts giveaways. They have cheap game tickets with no fees. It's really a dream for any Cowboys fan. The app is completely free. The show is completely free. No paywall. You'll have access to all of my Autograph exclusive shows throughout the season. Click the top comment on this video, use my code DIMBOYS at sign up, and you're done. Thank you to everyone that downloads the app and checks out the show. It really means a lot. Now, let's get back into this video. While this Ceedee Lamb contract plays out, the wide receiver room becomes a big story through the first few weeks of camp or days, whatever Lamb ends up missing. Because the big question is, who steps up and makes this offense at least functional? You have Brandon Cooks, Jalen Tolbert, Jalen Brooks, Kevontae Turpin, but honestly, are any of those guys a true number 1 wide receiver? I guess you could say that Brandon Cooks would be the closest, but this Cowboys receiver room without Ceedee Lamb is bad. Maybe not the year that they traded for Amari Cooper in 2018 bad, but they're getting there. And it's one of the worst wide receiver units in the league when Lamb isn't on the field. So the big question is, who's it going to be? Jalen Tolbert's going to get a lot more reps. I assume that Jalen Brooks is going to get some run with the ones. Kevontae Turpin getting some work out of the slot with the first team. Somebody's got to step up. And we might be hearing it until Lamb gets there that this Cowboys offense stinks throwing the football. So keep an eye out for that one as well. Now that we've talked about Ceedee and his contract, let's talk about Dak Prescott, because it is a major storyline whether you believe that Prescott should get the big $60 million contract or not. The reality of the situation is, and a talking point that has followed this team the entirety of the offseason has been, if you don't get a deal done this training camp pretty much, you're probably looking for a quarterback in 2025 because Dak is going to hit the open market. Now, I mentioned this with CeeDee Lamb, and maybe the Cowboys are just like, let's get a morale boost. We'll sign CeeDee, we'll sign Dak. Everyone's happy. But you could have just done that 2 months ago and everyone would have been probably even happier. Cowboys don't get a deal done. This could be Dak's final year with the Cowboys. And I honestly have no idea what their plans are moving forward if they don't sign Dak. But I don't think it's ridiculous to say that we should probably keep an eye on Trey Lance. He does some really good things in training camp, some good things in the preseason, and maybe he's your future. But it's probably more likely that he's not, but it is something to keep an eye on. Our next storyline is just one person, Mike Zimmer. How does this new defense look under Mike Zimmer? You still have quite a bit of players that were here under Dan Quinn, and going into the past couple of seasons, we kind of knew what to expect with Quinn and his defenses. But with Mike Zimmer, it's obviously more of a wild card, especially if you haven't watched a ton of Vikings games. But this change could probably be the biggest of the Cowboys season. Are we seeing the aggressiveness from the corners that we saw with Dan Quinn? We know that Mike Zimmer likes bigger bodies that play well against the run, and that could have an impact on certain matchups across the defensive line. Mike Zimmer is truly the wild card heading into 2024 for this Dallas Cowboys team. And our final matchup, I'm calling this one the rookie/veteran battles, because you have Tyler Guyton and Chuma Edoga competing for snaps at left tackle, and then you have Cooper Beebe and Brock Hoffman competing for the job at center. I want to say that this is probably the most questions that we've had going into camp about the offensive line in quite a while. I mean, last year, the only questions were, should Tyler Smith be at left tackle if Tyron Smith can't stay healthy? But now you're looking at starting two rookies along the offensive line, one that was the 70-something overall pick, and another that people say needs time to develop. Is this coaching staff going to end up trusting the veterans over the rookies, or do you look at the potential upside of having Tyler Guyton and Cooper Beebe and you just take your lumps when they're there? Personally, let the rookies play. The Cowboys have quite a few practices, a couple preseason games. We still have a lot to learn about a majority of these players. Who's improved, who's regressed, how do these rookies look in their new role? Honestly, I am so excited that training camp's back. I finally have something of substance to talk about on the channel. So if you aren't, please subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you all, and I'll see you next time. Bye.